guarantee come games losing one player in that fight is pretty successful. Team way towards the bottom, getting started early. It's only going to better their chances to making top 8. Team Vision, a roster that performed very well and had stellar moments throughout group play, had a disappointing run throughout day one of the survival stage. A team on your screen with all 4 units still looking to work their way up if they can. I do wonder, intense game with Adrian starts to go out there along with another one of his teammates, getting closer to AXTMG, who starts to fire off some shots. Teams need to respect AXTMG and where they currently are in ruins. They push too aggressively, they could be losing their lives just like Nox from Red Force did.
The question is, even with good positions and good performances, for AXTMG, it may be too little too late, right? They're chasing a marathon down where other teams are going for a stroll around that bubble. They are on 12 points at the start of this match. Obviously, picking up 5 is brilliant, right? Sure. But when you're looking at trying to get up towards 70 points today, they need to put up over the course of the day, getting up towards, what is that, 58 points?
That's right.
To be able to get to 70 points, and even then it's not certain. So getting 58 points is almost a 10-point average. That is a top team performance level, and it will be really difficult for them to try and earn that sort of points. We'll have to see if they're able to be up to the task, because we get a replay of how Kinotrope walked into a building and did not walk out.
That's right. Solo was taken down very early on. Yangon Galactica said, well, let's take advantage of this. Let's push into Kinotrope. We know basically where their whereabouts are going to be. And like I said, they pull off the full team wipe. Good on them. So from R8 versus Yangon Galacticus to now the fight for Paradise turns around. Yangon Galacticus are gone, and now it's Regnum Karya taking their place. R8 opposite of them. This is another tense fight to talk about what's at stake here for Regnum Karya, still relatively healthy within that top 3 position. They can have maybe 1 or 2 bad games before they start to get put on high alert. But for R8, this is a must-win fight. The shots are starting to ring out, and Regnum Karya is going to strike first.
Immediately getting that flush as well, earning that point. Damar steps up with the DPS, but it's just a little bit out of range to fully connect, and Regnum Karya just keep this unlocked. 2 players almost immediately. They've survived the hot drop here, Reflections, but it feels like they weren't ready for the second phase of the game, which is called not staying in your drop location.
No, it's going to be up to 2 players from R8, and they pretty much have to fight. I mean, yeah, you can leave this, but I don't think they want to. R8 want to establish Paradise if they possibly can. Losing this could very well knock them out. I'm almost guaranteed, really, to knock them out of the top 8 contention, making them forced to fight on Erangel and Miramar. Regnum Karya rolled in. They've been on fire throughout day 1 of the survival stage. They clearly are already off to a great start with 2 players down. Prestige, Marth, they are gone, forced to disengage, and now fight the entire lobby as a duo.
Now let's take a look at the rest of the lobby as well. The circle has centered up towards the north side of Quarry here, which means that there are teams on either side of the Quarry that are going to be able to be a massive barrier to rotations around this circle. Alpha 7 are actually in a very solid spot on the northeast side of this Quarry to stop teams from moving around that east side. Unfortunately, it's unlikely that they're going to be able to farm too many points for it. Well, they'll maybe get 4 from Gamax unless the Falcons try and roll in behind them from Cave on that east side. It's that west side that's going to get a little bit more fraught, and that is going to be up to Fireflux. It's going to be up to E-Arena to be holding down the west side of that Quarry position.
But again, with Alpha 7 being in the position they currently are in the survival stage, a chance to potentially not make it into finals to defend their title, they've got a target on their back. And for Gamax, if they see him, maybe they want to go for the challenge. Hora, you've got Fireflux, right? E-Arena, they see Alpha 7, maybe they get a bit more aggressive and put a little bit of extra attention on where they currently are. But I agree with you, John, where Alpha 7 is currently at, I'm feeling quite confident. We look at Falcons, Narvalo with Redox. And Narvalo, that beautiful 1v3 against the roster of Alpha 7 yesterday, put them into the grave in game number 5. But one of the teams that was hurting Falcons the most yesterday was R8. This time around, it doesn't look like they're most likely going to run into each other. Even if they do, Falcons is going to have the numbers, so they might be able to beat their boogeyman. But for Falcons' sake, looking good. You got all the members up. They've got a lot of real estate, not only in front of them, but also behind them, basically a limited line of sight. So for Falcons, I'm expecting a pretty decent game 1, which is historically what they normally start off with.
Well, they'll have to try and keep this one going. They're right on the edge of the south side. They're worried about crossings to their west. They needn't be, but they don't know that, of course. They're worried about teams moving down the west side, rotating in late, coming in from that south edge. There is currently no one playing that area, but they are just being careful. They're crossing their I's and dotting their T's at the moment as it goes. You know, you can flip that one around if you want to, but I prefer this way.
Fair enough. All right, dangerously close to Vision. Volt being the scout. Maybe he calls out R8's weak. Maybe Vision chooses to challenge, but for now, that hasn't occurred. Intense game still out in the blue zone. Forced to go down south across Paradise. Maybe Regnum Karya, being the aggressive roster they are, spot them out and potentially go for a challenge, but I expect IG is going to be just fine. We'll have a zone shift relatively soon. And it is going to center up a little bit. Alpha 7 still feeling pretty good. Fireflex dead center. Vision okay. Yang on Galacticus and Regnum Karya starting to get relatively close. So once IG, Power, right, AXTMG, and especially Falcons way down towards the south start to come up, Falcons especially are going to have their hands full with the arena and Alpha 7.
We've got a couple of teams on the linchpin positions here. Power, they're going to have to make a decision as to where to move. So that southwest side, the dynamics of it are really going to change depending on if they go north, if they go in towards the center, if they try and head east and fight E-Arena. We've also got that position on the southeast, and Gamax behind Alpha 7 could change things up. There's also that wild card of the Falcons. Everybody else has fairly linear approaches. It can get a little bit predictable, but those are the places where I think things could really change depending on how they want to approach this one.
MX Alpha 7 starting to inch closer and closer to each other. Brinko is way off in the distance. I don't know why he's currently there. He needs to get up there and join his roster if they want any attempt at attacking Alpha 7. But for the meantime, they're just going to continue to be very aware of where they currently are at, but they don't want to challenge necessarily. I do notice Influence Rage, though, as well as AXTMG are starting to get very close. And here comes that Regnum Karya IG rotation. IG going straight past Regnum Karya. The question is, where do they stop? Well, Toshpik says enough is enough. I'm ready to fight.
Vision not quite having sightlines over towards Regnum Karya. Keeps them safe for the moment. An intense game, actually sending out further towards the north, trying to get an angle onto Regnum Karya's rotate in, but they're not going to quite find it there. They're keeping it on lock and key, but there's the first knock, and Rafa lands the spray down onto Wild. Are they going to commit to go for this res? It looks like they want to, but the nades are going to follow it up. That's going to do a lot of damage. Not quite finding the flush just yet.
Knowing intense game, they want to push this. You notice Silence starting to push forward. He's going to take an advanced spot. Silence, though, caught off guard to the left, takes a bit of damage, and now you've got to back up and join your roster. Well, no, maybe push forward. Silence wants to continue. They know they have an early knock. They have the man advantage. Question is, can they continue to take apart Regnum Karya? And the answer is yes. Silas, a power player in his own right, also down. Regnum Karya down to 2.
And there is a res coming on through. Toshpik next to fall down to the floor there, and Regnum Karya all of a sudden relying on Loxy, but he has got the beans. Let's see if he can jump into the fight. Silence now, going low behind the car, will have to hide, go for the heal. Loxy on full HP, but he threads the needle, and the shot is good. A 1v2, Yangon Galacticos could potentially move into third party, but they've backed off. He's still going. Loxy has more legs in this.
Yeah, Loxy definitely can pull this off if he's careful. Pedrito, though, snake in the grass through the smoke. I think he's going to be the linchpin. Loxy takes damage. Forced to retreat, and that's going to be, I believe, Saycloud, if I'm not mistaken, just from behind, taking him out with the third party.
A big flex out into the blue zone there from Yangon Galacticos. He read that he couldn't get a sightline from where he was. He moved out into the blue. It's stage 4. You can survive for long enough, and he took down Regnum Karya. They end their match with only 2 points from that northern side.
But the good thing is, for intense game coming from the Americas region, they got all 4 alive, and they're getting their health back, and now they can challenge Yangon Galacticos. This game could be a stellar one and a great start for Intense Game to make a miracle run for top 8. The Brazilian team's underperforming. That's what the Death said, and I fully agree, even from the Americas region, right? I'm super passionate about them. But for Intense Game, this is a great start. Silence once again trying to be that aggressor. This time, he gets fully punished.
Taken down and flushed very, very quickly there. Nades now pouring in. Intense Game wants some retribution, but Yangon Galacticos won't go down quietly. They left from Paradise Resort. They sliced through Kinotrope. I know their walkout looked like they had the samurai swords, but they've been turned on their owners there, drawn and thrust back to the gut from Yangon Galacticos, and they are playing well from this northern edge.
Intense Game knew they needed to continue to push forward. They're so close to the edge of zone. You can see it here, right? So one thing that I really appreciated for Yangon Galacticos' perspective is they backed away and forced IG to push into him.
Oh, a big nade coming through on the southeast side. Alpha 7, they're starting to fumble on the southeast edge. Finally an answer over towards Yangon, over towards Gamax, sorry. But that's Alpha 7 out. 7 set it on the desk. They need to kick off with a win. They've just been denied that. Neptura set it on the desk. So do the other Brazilian teams. And that's the same story for Intense Game on the north.
Alpha 7, I'm ringing the alarm bells. Starting now, game 1. They are already out. They get away with 1 point. They were already outside of top 8. Alpha 7 struggles continue, and the fact that Gamax, who's been on the struggle bus, takes them out. A full team wipe. Everybody stays alive. I'm really worried for our A7 boys.
Are Alpha 7 bad?
Hold on, slow down. I don't think they're bad whatsoever, but something is just not clicking, and I sincerely don't know what it is.
Well, Power seem to have found it, and they are going to mount up for an approach towards AXTMG's players who are starting to flag. I think it's just Devotee left. There's nade pouring in on his rock, and it looks like they know exactly where he is. A slow approach from Power onto this circle. I said that they could be the wild card here on the southwestern side, but they have played it sensibly. They've lost 1 player in this fight, but they have managed to rack up a point. They're looking to clear out slowly and methodically. E-Arena, I'm worried about what they could do to this one, though. You can see them start to poke their noses in from the east edge. You've also got Influence Rage, who have gone 2-2 on the western side.
Yeah, Influence Rage is going to be me. I think that's going to be the team to try and maybe third party this truly from Team Power's perspective. But you do mention E-Arena, and Joker is relatively close, so he can push up. So worst case scenario for Power, they get pintered between E-Arena as well as Influence Rage. Not a good spot to be in. And Influence Rage and both E-Arena do get active, firing in on Power Esports.
Well, through the midst of all of that action that's just unfolded before us, the north side fights, the south side wiping of Alpha 7 to ostensibly the worst team in the tournament, there is going to also be that Falcons rotation, right? We were looking at that Falcons position on that south side. They have gone for a little bit of a miracle dash. It's something that we've seen them do before, right into the middle of the circle. They're now holding 2 really important buildings. Shacks, fair enough, but important buildings in this next zone. They have cover, they can play to the south side to hold it, and everybody else who could crash onto their locations right now, they're being held out by one another. Once those fights conclude, Falcons are going to be a little bit more under pressure. As soon as Gamax are free to go, the South 2 for Falcons are in danger. Aura, once they disengage from R8's last players, they could be in danger as well from that direction on the northeast.
Yangon Galacticos sit at a current 6 eliminations and more potentially to come as they focus their attention on Division. But Volt hits a nasty shot from a distance in conjunction with Marcelo. Volt will continue to reposition, maybe challenging that of Romeo. Route, by the way, for Falcons looking to get revenge onto Gamax for taking on Alpha 7. Romeo continuing to hit some nasty shots. Vision putting up a wonderful fight. This could go any which way. For Yangon Galacticos, well, only 1 more player remains. Hora is starting to also get in onto the Vision fight. Noah, very weak. Marcelo should very weak himself, but manages to stay alive, believe it or not.
Yangon Galacticos chiming in. Romeo's still alive and still giving it large. 1 player down on the backlines for Vision now. Just 1 player remaining left standing for them. Noah desperately trying to get the res, but he has to face the fight first. And Sky, Jiggle, both pouring damage down over this hillside. Sleepy's there with a backup in the ghillie suit, and it will go undetected by them. Over on the north side, Vision are wiped away, and Aura will continue for that fight on the northern edge, but the Falcons continue to take shots across every which way.
Yeah, that's right. And even when Hora ends up winning this, they need to move forward, and you got Falcons who's ready to gun you down. Gamax as well, and I'm loving where Fireflux is currently at, pretty much having the only hardcover POIs outside of Narvalo and Ralph and Redox, who's going to be for Falcons, relatively split. Gamax has been on a terror. 4 eliminations, I know that doesn't seem like much, but for a Gamax roster who has yet to show themselves, not only do they take down Alpha 7, but they're also challenging the top dogs of Falcons, who are currently up top. But this fight, this push up the hill, it's almost impossible.
It is very, very difficult when you're dealing with players that are sat up in that watchtower. You need to plant those nades in. You need to be accurate and deadly with them. But Ralph seems to know where he's fighting against. So do they. They bobble a nade over.